So the activity this week or lab or assignment is to look at a web-based GIS application and do some observations, practice using latitude and longitude, and make some hypothesis about wolf harvest. Hopefully you watched the video about the wolf or the wolves reintroduction in Yellowstone. So when you open up the map from the itty bitty URL, it should take you to this site. And this is a site by a software company called ESRI. And I created this map based on some layers I downloaded from the Montana Fish and Wildlife site, and just some other data that I had, and then some data that was streaming on the internet. So basically you open up the map and you see what's called the TOC, or the table of contents, and you see different data layers. So this is the layer for the state of Montana. This is 5-degree latitude. Just like any other map, you can scroll down here and you see the harvest area types have been, there's one that's filled and one that's not filled, and it's kind of color coded. So you can take a look at the map. You can navigate by just clicking your left mouse button down and dragging the map. You can zoom in or out with the plus buttons. And if it gets weird or wonky, you can just refresh it. If you want to look at the details, you click the Detail tab, or not, or the Legend tab. Aha, there it is, the Detail tab, sorry. And you can now turn layers on and off. So there's some layers that aren't on now that I'm going to ask you to evaluate. So for instance, you can turn on that location layer, which adds a push pin here and to the right and to the east, sorry, and to the southwest. You can turn off all the layers, and you have just the imagery file. You can turn on different base maps. You can decide that you don't want to look at imagery, but you want to look at the topographic map. And then we're going to turn the outline of Montana back on, the grid system on. So here is 110 degrees west latitude, 45 degrees north longitude. The wolf distribution polygon, I'm going to turn that off, and you'll see that that is the area where the wolf distribution was mapped. Some of these lines cover each other up, that's why they're called layers. There's the 1 degree of latitude and longitude. You can also zoom in and out by rolling the mouse. Sometimes, depending on the speed of your internet and how well the server is operating, you may get hung up. And so if that happens, I just kind of refresh it and start back over, and it should take you back to the beginning. We're using a free site, so there are tons and tons of data on this site. Let's go back to, I don't know, let's go back to the US TopoMap site, and let's look at this 0. So this is an Indian reservation, so there were no wolf harvests on that day. And if I click on the map, it gives me some information. It's the gives me the name of the reservation. If I click here, again, it gives me the name of that area. I'm going to just scroll in a little bit slower. Here we go. If I click on the push pin, it gives me the name of the site. And the more I zoom in, the more detail I can get about the map, and now I can see some very detailed topographic maps, and we'll be using this a lot this term when we look at elevation, and in a couple weeks we'll talk about how to read topographic maps. So you should be able, by turning, going to the detail or show map contents, turning layers on and off. One of the reasons I did a harvest fill and a harvest not fill is so that you could see the outlines of the harvest area, but not have to deal with all of the color fill. You can also change the symbols yourself. You can have, let's see, let's go back to, turn on some of these cities. There's some red points for Helena, and let's just say I want to change that city. And I want to make it a square and a whole lot bigger. So I can do that, and you have a little bit of control on how your map looks. So play around with that. That looks really ugly. But anyway, be able to change the base maps back and forth, be able to change symbols, move back and forth from the legend view to the detail view. Okay, that should get you started on the map or the assignment.